Good morning. Thank you for coming out this morning through the rain. We are here today to announce that yesterday morning we filed a lawsuit on behalf of 95 survivors, a 186-page complaint in the Illinois Court of Claims on behalf of the 95 survivors of childhood sexual abuse that occurred while those children were in the care and custody of the state of Illinois in one of the numerous juvenile detention centers across the state. Today, my name is Todd Matthews with my partner David Selby from the Bailey Glasser Law Firm, Jerry Block and Jacob Jordan from the Levy Konigsberg firm, Mark DiCello and Rachel Bussett from the DiCello Levitt firm have all filed this suit. We represent hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of more children that are now adults that were abused in these facilities. We anticipate filing more lawsuits over the coming weeks and months on behalf of those survivors. Having been born and raised and now raising my own children here in the state of Illinois, this is something that hits very close to home for me. For decades, previous administrations have failed to protect our children who found themselves residents of one of these Illinois youth centers. While we have filed suit just on behalf of the 95 today, we anticipate many, many more to come. As you can see from the illustration here to my left, this stems across 9 Illinois youth centers across the state, some of which are now closed. The predominant facilities where this abuse occurred was at St. Charles and Harrisburg, which is no surprise, as they are 2 of the larger facilities in the state. The age of these children at the time they were abused ranges from 12 to 17 years of age. And they range, about 80% of the survivors that we currently represent are men as opposed to women, which is an important distinction because the current rate in Illinois is about 90% male to female population. So you can see a 20% rate for the females is quite high. It's important to note that we have numerous individuals who have all identified the same repeat abuser. That spans across decades. It spans across times where those survivors were not even at the same facility at the same time. And that's very, very important for these repeat abusers. The accounts from each individual of those repeat offenders solidifies the claims and validates those claims. These acts of abuse were carried out by guards, administrators, staff, and other employees of the state of Illinois. The incidents involved all types of horrific sexual abuse. They were raped, forced to perform oral sex, and a vast variety of other atrocities. These claims were brought under the recently amended Childhood Sexual Abuse Act, which allows for these survivors to now bring their claims that may have been previously disallowed due to statute of limitations purposes. We filed this under the Illinois Court of Claims against the state of Illinois, which is the proper channel for these claims to be dealt with. I'm now going to bring to the podium Jerry Block from the law firm of Levy Konigsberg to introduce you to some of our survivors and allow them to share their experiences.
Good morning. My name is Jerome Block from the law firm of Levy Konigsberg, LLP. And I'd like to especially recognize these 95 men and women who have stepped forward, who have courageously stepped forward to file these important cases involving childhood sexual abuse that occurred at Illinois youth centers. Sexual abuse at Illinois youth centers has been going on for decades. In these 95 cases, the cases span from 1996 all the way to 2017, more than 20 years. The sexual abuse in Illinois youth centers has been going on for far too long. These are courageous survivors. Some of them are here. And they have courageously stepped forward so you could see them and hear their voices. And you're going to hear from some of them today. And I'd like the governor of this state to hear the voices of the survivors. I'd like the attorney general of this state to hear the voices of these survivors. And what they want is accountability. They want justice, and they want sexual abuse in the Illinois juvenile justice system to stop. So at this point, I'd like to bring up the survivors. Some of them are here to make statements. Jeffrey?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Christian. Almost 20 years ago, I entered the juvenile system. I went to IYC per my court at the age of 13, which I felt like I was being pushed into a jungle, a wild, unfamiliar place where I had to fend for myself. I wish I could have used my time in the system to grow and change and become a better man through the discipline and support of the staff around me. Instead, I was sexually abused and neglected. I learned at a too young of an age that the system wasn't going to make me a better man, just hurt me. I spent over 2 decades carrying the weight of abuse on my shoulder and trying to be the tough guy, to push it down and act like it doesn't matter. But I won't push it down anymore. The survivors standing with me today and the team that made this all happen, that made this lawsuit possible, they pretty much my power and courage. I want the world to know what happened to me and the rest of the survivors that's with me standing today. I want to shine light on these dark times I went through as a juvenile. So our juvenile system is broken, and with that,
Thank you, Jeffrey.
thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
My name is Calvin McDow. I was born in Chicago, Illinois, in the Uptown area. I was 16 years old when I was a victim. Like most youth my age, I was misguided and I made some mistakes. When I was sent to IYC St. Charles, the judge told me that I was going to the Illinois Youth Center for rehabilitation, guidance, and understanding. At this time, I did not know what that meant. But when I arrived at St. Charles, I truly believed that I would be helped, cared for, and pushed in the right direction. Unfortunately, I was sadly mistaken. Upon my arrival, I met a predator, a chaplain employed in the youth center who said I could trust him. I was victimized and sexually abused, which led to decades of mental anguish and confusion. Instead of being cared for, I felt more alone than ever. I held my secret from the people I loved out of fear and embarrassment. I had nights where I wanted to give up on life. Nights where I kept asking myself, why? Why me? Why me? I knew I had to answer that question for myself, but I could never find the truth until now. Today, I'm not alone. Today, I take my life back from the man who preyed upon me. Today, I begin the road to recovery. This lawsuit gives me the strength and hope I needed when I was a kid. The man that abused me can no longer abuse me, can no longer take advantage of me mentally nor emotionally. I will not be silenced. I am not a victim, and I will no longer ask myself why.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Calvin.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Stephan W Lucas. I'm 36 years of age. I'm a son, a brother, an uncle, and a fiance. And today I stand here as a survivor I survived being the youngest of 3 boys to a single mother who struggled greatly to guide her sons with little to nothing. I survived my personal troubles growing up in the hood where I made mistakes and faced the laws as consequences. But most of all, I survived and continue to survive the sexual and emotional abuse that I faced as a child in the very justice system that was supposed to help correct me. I was preyed upon by a dangerous man who held a position of power over me during my time at IYC Harrisburg. He had me feel hopeless, helpless, and alone. At a time in my life where I needed help and guidance the most, I was instead tormented and abused. I was afraid to share my hardship with those closest to me because I didn't want it to be looked at differently. But join the lawsuit has freed a part of me that I locked away for 22 years. I opened up to my family who accepted me with open arms. I feel liberated, like I am finally reclaiming what was taken from me all those years ago. To everybody out there who went through what I did, understand that there are so many of us who face the same challenges and adversities within the juvenile justice system. I am fighting for myself and for the justice that I deserve, but I am also fighting for you. We stand together, and we will never stand alone again.
We'll now open the floor to questions, if anybody has any questions.
Sophia with AP, thanks for sharing your testimony. One of the things that came up from the governor's office, the Department of Juvenile Justice and Corrections, is they were saying, well, this happened under previous administrations. That was kind of, can you speak a little bit about what is happening today? I want to come back to them and say, this isn't just from years ago.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question, and I think the answer is we simply don't know. We're never going to be able to get all of the monsters out of the system, and so we need to do some additional discovery. We need to understand what the state is currently doing and what they aren't, and part of the process is holding them accountable and fixing the system.
Yeah. Jerome Block from Levy, Konigsberg. It's hard to believe the state when they say there's no problem right now, because that's what they said for all these past decades. It's always been the position of the state and the Department of Juvenile Justice that they had the right procedures in place, that the children were safe. Okay, we know they were not. We know they were not. And we don't have any reason to believe that the negligence and the problems that led to our clients being sexually abused have been fixed.
Any other questions? No, yes?
Two more if nobody else does. I know that the 3 of you gentlemen are named in the lawsuit. Are the other people here also in the lawsuit but not named, just so I know who's all?
Yes, that's correct. Any of the survivors here before us today are one of the 95 survivors in the complaint.
One of the things, if I could ask you gentlemen to address, in coming forward and being named, what is it like to be standing here with this group of people? That people you've never known before and having this one thing in common. If someone could address that.
Go ahead.
Can you ask the question again, please?
What is it like, I think in your statement you talked about you're never going to stand alone again. And it comes after all of these years of feeling alone. What does it feel like today for you to be here publicly and talk about this?
It feels good. And sadly, the juvenile justice system has a lot of facilities, but it's so small. So I know a few faces. I'm familiar with a few faces. But it's almost an instant feeling of solidarity. Because as myself, and I look at a few of these brothers, and I understand the climate of those IYC facilities. Like, you have children who are coming in here, who are trying to come into their own naturally as young boys, trying to find themselves as men. So on top of us trying to find our genuine personalities as men, growing as boys into men, now we have a system that's ran together, like the system of abuse and all these things are ran together. Like when you think of IYC, or when you think of correction, you think of abuse being a part of it. You think of isolation being a part of it. You think of separatism being a part of it. You think of yourself versus every guard here. So to have people that can stand with you and you know that, man, if I call this brother, if I call my attorneys, they not gonna tell me, oh, well, there ain't nothing we can do about it. Or I don't have to fear these same officers coming back to me like what you thought telling them was gonna do. So it's great.
For you in particular, the person that, you mentioned in the lawsuit, he was one of these repeat offenders.
I'm not sure.
Could we,
I'm not sure.
Sophia, can we do a follow-up after the press conference? Okay. Jeffrey, thank you, Stephan. Thank you so much. Jeffrey wanted to say something in response to your question. Can you state it again, Sophia?
What does it feel like to be not only here today, but the last few weeks and months of meeting other people who went through this same horrific experience?
Well, Jeffrey Christian once again. How I feel today, I actually feel good, because once upon a time, I was a child, scared to voice my opinion. And seeing these other survivors with me today, it just let me know I wasn't the only one, because you would have to go through it and you would feel like, why me? And you would have this belief system that only you going through it. But for me to see that 95 other people's, this is something that's been going on way before even my time. So I'm at a place of need to be heard right now, because I'm no longer that young child that's scared to speak out.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Calvin wanted to answer your questions here, Sophia.
Yes. So for me, I feel free. I don't feel scared anymore. I don't feel alone. I feel like somebody understands me. These people here, these men and this lady, and many more that are with us, lets me know I'm not alone. I don't have to be scared. I don't have to be worried that nobody will understand me. I know that they understand me. And these attorneys give me hope that I can get my life back on track, and that for the future kids that's coming, they won't have to experience this.
Thank you, Calvin.
And so if anybody's ever searching for a definition of courage, look no further than these men and women that stand before you today. This is courage exemplified. Any additional questions? Yeah, first in the front and then in the back.
Hi, thank you all for being here. I'm Marjorie Moss. I'm with the Blue Clinic in Western Christopher School of Law. We work with a lot of kids who are currently incarcerated, DJJ, how it's now called. And I know a lot of the abusers, when you guys were children, guards don't necessarily identify themselves as name. You don't know their name, you know last names, and you're a kid, you don't remember. For the lawyers, do you know how many of those, as you call them, monsters or abusers are still there that were there when these honorable, courageous men and women were there? I don't even know if that's even an answerable question.
So, well, it's a difficult question. We take in a tremendous amount of data whenever we discuss these cases with the survivors. And so how many are still there, I don't think anybody knows. But we do have extreme detail as to the abusers that are involved. And we'll be looking into that further as we go through this process. I mean, keep in mind, this is the civil component. And we fully anticipate there to be a criminal component to see these folks dealt with.
I know we appreciate, on behalf of the clients I work with, we appreciate you all being here and us being able to tell them that there's people standing up for you. So you do have a voice for those young people who are there. We'll definitely relay that to them. So thank you all.
In the back.
I'm actually on that exact note, the attorneys, both of you mentioned that there will be lawsuits to come for the three gentlemen, and I commend you for sharing your stories, commend you for your bravery. Is there a message that you can share for other young individuals, grown individuals, who are contemplating sharing their stories but might be scared? Anything that you can share in terms of encouragement for them who might want to be coming
Speak
forward?
up. That's speak up. You're not alone. It's people out here in this world that really care. And as long as you speak up, the more people that speak up and stay aware, we're gonna do away with this. These people are not gonna keep getting away with this.
Yeah, hopefully it don't have to be 20 years from now.
Yes, sir.
You want to repeat your question?
Yes, please. Your message to help to encourage other survivors to come and share their stories.
Find your comfort in others. Find your comfort in others, because you're gonna see that there's more likes than unlikes. And the biggest thing is that silence harbors your torment, man. Like, the more that I was silent, the more that I beat up on me, the more frightening it was. So, man, your voice will release your fear. It will release your pain.
Thank you, Stephan. Anyone else?
Pick back up on your question. I would like the youth today to know, don't get to the point of how I was, like it doesn't matter. It really matter. Your voice need to be heard, and hopefully by us, me and the survivors behind me, voicing our voice about what went on in them dark places, I hope it can shine light on y'all to know that something is gonna get done one way or another.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? We want to thank you all for coming. We appreciate the opportunity for these survivors to be able to speak out. Thank you.